One thing I will say today is that when you are coursing through life, there's always, every single person that you meet is always going to have this opinion or this view about you. And what we call that is perception. So the way that everyone perceives you is going to be different. And if we live our lives trying to be this best perception or want to be inside a certain perception with everyone we meet, not only do we limit ourselves, but we also operate at a very surface level. You have to realize that in some people's story, you're going to be like this great divine creature, you know what I'm saying, who just came about and did the best. And in another person's story, you are going to be this villain or this bad guy or this traumatizing person. Now, of course, you yourself, you have to have accountability. And you have to, you have to have accountability when you're wrong, or if and when you did something that was wrong, you played the villain role. And sometimes you might not have done something that was truly wrong, but somebody is going to look at you like the villain in their story. So we have to let go of perception. Don't try to be inside a certain perception. We see it all the time, especially on social media. And with this internet stuff, we see that we want people to get this certain view of us, whether it's we want them to think we're spiritual, we want them to think that we are just strong or muscular, or that we're dope, or that nigga, or that we talk a certain type of way, we articulate, so we intelligent, or we have this thing where we want to be viewed a certain type of way instead of just being who we are and allowing it to flow like this. That lock of holding yourself inside of wanting to be perceived a certain type of way by people will hurt you. Like, it will hurt you mentally, it'll hurt you physically, it'll hurt the future you, who you're supposed to be, because you're so busy trying to be perceived a certain type of way that you might not be flowing like naturally because you're so busy trying to, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, we have to let go of that feeling. We have to let go of feeling like somebody's perception of us is our end all be all. Your perception of you is your end all be all. And your perception of you, if you've been with you and you've been present and true and honest with you, you know that your perception of you is like infinite. Like, because you were a baby, you were a little girl, you were a bigger girl, you were a teenager, you were a young adult, you were an older female, you were an elder. So, and throughout all these moments in time, you have changed and morphed so much. So your opinion of you and your view and your perception of you is constantly morphing and changing, especially if you're growing and learning, but don't ever be stuck on the perception and the way that others view you, because that's going to leave you slew, because you can never control someone's perception of you. And we also have to remember that people only are perceiving us based on what they can comprehend and understand. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, a good story about it is when I first met my husband. I met my husband over 10 years ago, over 10 years ago almost now. And I was in a different space when I met him. I just turned 18. I had I had like a 1-year-old going on 2. I was in a completely different mind space. Like, I didn't even know I didn't know what spiritual was. I didn't know that I was a spiritual being, and that's how people viewed me and all this stuff, these words. I was just a regular girl, and mind you, I was a different type of girl too. So my husband, he was vibrating at this level that I didn't really know how to view him. I didn't really know how to receive him. He was the only man I had ever met like him, and I never judged him. We were great friends from day one when we first met each other. But I didn't know how to view him. He was so positive. He was like calling me empress and queen and lioness and goddess and all this stuff, and I'm just like, I'm still around here calling myself bitches and da 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 da. Like, yeah, I was down there, you know? So it's like, I didn't really know how to perceive him. I just thought he was a very nice person. I knew he was unique and he was different, but I truly didn't see him yet because my perception had not yet opened up to be able to view him where he was at. It wouldn't have been till the 3 years after I met him that I opened up more, and then where he was at, it was more reasonable, and then it wouldn't be till another 3 years after that we got together. So in knowing each other for 6 years before we even officially became a thing, and that's because I wasn't ready yet. You know, I couldn't see him yet. I had some more growing to do individually before we could come together, you know, together, you know. And so it's so interesting now because I can still remember how I used to view him and how I didn't understand him versus how much I relate to him and get him now. So that's just a little story about how we can only view people based on the perception in the space that we are at. And the space that we are at, our perception be based on our experiences. I had never had an experience with a man like that, with an enlightened being like that. Not that I know of, and not in that close way that me and him experienced each other even as friends. And so I didn't know how to view him yet. And now it's different because I completely understand him, because my perception, I got opened up to things in the world and I gained more insight and more knowledge, and then it all made sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that right there will tell you that people are not going to know how to view you. So you can never be worried about the next person and how they feel about you and how they view you, and so on and so forth. You just have to be a beautiful you know what I'm saying? And when you're wrong, make sure you fix up, and if you play the villain in somebody's story, if you can, you know, you can apologize to them. And if it's not given that, you don't really have to, because the true apology is change, whether they get to see that or not. So don't live based on how others view you, but how you view yourself, and make sure that you're always analyzing yourself and working on yourself. And that's like the best thing. Yeah.